Hi, welcome back to my channel. I wanted to do a video on basically like how I'm currently single, and this isn't like I'm basically happy being single at this point. I actually went out the other day and was like having a lot of fun just being on my own. I wanted to kind of do a video about sort of being single. I would say by choice. I have like gone on like a dating website like this morning, but I reckon being someone as a recovered codependent, it's quite nice to, sorry my legs are cold, it's quite nice to actually be myself, and like not sort of crave that male attention. If anyone has been a codependent in the past, they might know what I mean. P.S. I feel I'm going to forget to say this, thank you for our 73 subscribers, I'm really excited by that. Suddenly it's just been like, it's just increased massively from my like 10 subscribers that were there in the first 20, there were 20 for a while. Anyway, whatever, thanks for that if anyone listens to this that's already subscribed. But anyway, without the awkwardness, I'll just carry on. So yeah, I feel like it's just like one of those things where, besides the social side of pressuredness that young women go through and young people and anyone really goes through, be that through parents or society, they can kind of like give you this idea to you know, want to be like in a relationship or whatever. I just think for me, I've got to a point where I've recovered from that codependency, I've gone through some relationships, and I'm really starting to understand what might go into a more mature relationship, and definitely what I don't want, and what like I value actually in a relationship is something that I've just noticed the most thing. And I'm kind of like, I think as well, I will just say though, I feel like sometimes when you go through relationships, you can like you can sort of like have a relationship, it not work out, and then go out with someone different that is got similar traits to someone else. I feel like so I'm just saying that like regardless of that, it's good, like I'm not gonna repeat my old mistakes, if that makes sense, in terms of like, I think like you always have to learn from the past, and I wouldn't change the past or change the people or anything at all, and I had great times in some of my last relationships, but I think I'm just at the point where I'm just like, I just don't want to, you know, be looking around for, I don't mind looking around, but I don't want to be in a relationship with someone that doesn't fit my evolved criteria. Because I do think you do have this like I don't know, like this process of elimination with relationships as you get older, and go through different experiences, and also like love yourself more. I've gotten closer to God. Like it depends on obviously what you evolve. Obviously as you get older, I feel like life just always gets better. Like the next, like you get wiser, so it gets better basically. So like, because you wouldn't repeat a past mistake necessarily unless you sort of were like forced into that, and I think it would be just not useful to repeat old mistakes anyway. Not to say like cycles don't come back round, so you have to complete a cycle that happened in the past. So like I think that's kind of what happens. But also, yeah, I just think obviously I don't know what anyone else's life paths are at the moment, but I feel like someone might relate to this, where I'm just going out and I'm like, I just feel like I'm focusing on other areas. I don't know who else can relate to this. I feel like I've actually decided I probably do want to do my store again, because I was sort of like, oh, do I want to get back into my support work job, which I might do, but I'm also like, I was at the stage where I'm like, I've kind of whittled down my job perspectives a little bit as well, so I don't know, it'd be nice to focus on my store if I do decide to go back to support work and do that, and friends and like meeting new people. I think that's what your 20s is partially about, going around and meeting new people, healing the self, which I've done like so many videos on. For anyone that's seen any of my older videos, I'm sure you're sick and tired of me talking about healing and stuff like that, so I'm going to give that a little bit of a rest. Even for myself, to be honest. It wasn't supposed to be annoying, but I feel like after a while you just get to the point and you're like, yeah, because I used to post pretty excessively as well, like I just got into it and I was a bit addicted for a while, so I'm going to just space it out a bit for you know, the digestion of anyone that goes to watch videos of mine. But yeah, like I don't think there's anything wrong, especially if you're comfortable being single. I think you can only honestly get into another relationship once you fully processed a past one, and I think things come to you when you're ready for them anyway. So I'm sort of like comfortable on my own. I feel full, if you like, on my own. I do think I've got some unhealed wounds from my past situationship that have not fully healed, if I'm honest. But I'm much on the way to being completely done with that, healing wise. And yeah, I just think you've got to they say you've got to love yourself before you can love someone else, but I think, like, obviously there's a journey to life. That's a good concept to have, but obviously it's not always necessarily going to be the case for every single, like, you can't there's no like perfect stage. We all go through different stages at different points, but so I just think, like, I've gone through relationships where I didn't love myself as much as I do now, for example, but I feel like I can give more love to the next person because I love myself more. But for example, in case you're interested, I'll talk about some of the criteria I may have evolved from. I mean, I'm not sort of like, this isn't like a ad or anything, like, don't be, I don't necessarily looking for like comments or anything about that, but or I don't want to seem desperate in that way, but I feel like let's just talk about my evolved criteria, because like I feel like I alluded to that anyway. For example, I did a past video in the difference between lust and emotional compatibility. Definitely learned that lesson the hard way. Just because someone's attractive to you doesn't necessarily mean that you can have a functional relationship in any way. And I think everyone's got like their own strengths. Like, I'm alluding to like players and stuff here. I'm just saying that, like, I don't want, this isn't a video dedicated to players. I'm just saying that, like, I also think that players obviously have that, like, you know, fire they ignite in people at times if their partner is willing to allow that to happen. And I think that's a gift, because lots of people don't have that ability, if I'm honest. Some people really can, and I'm going to put this out there, it might be controversial and you might be like, oh my god, stop being so positive. There's real damage that can come from people manipulating others, but what I will say is, I think about something popped into my mind this morning. There's a Bible verse and a Bible story about when Jesus, I'm relating players to Jesus, but I'm just going to do it anyway because we're all children of God. When Jesus turned the water into wine, okay? Why I thought this, I don't know, but this was a miracle, for example. And you know, a lot of people, they have low self-esteem. They have inaccurate views of themselves where they may have been, you know, degraded by parents or just have poor self-esteem for whatever reason. Some men can come along and they can improve this. They might allow someone to see what they're actually like. Some people would have an agenda. It's possible people have an agenda for certain people. Sometimes people want a relationship and people are different and it doesn't work out. Sometimes you've got players that literally are looking to have sex with you and haven't got much of a moral standpoint on how they do so. Regardless of that, I don't know, it's all very different depending on the person, but I think that everyone does have a gift. Anyway, players aside, so let's talk about my moral standpoint. So yeah, I think the difference between lust and emotional compatibility, I think it's easy to trick yourself into thinking that you have some sort of, I think you also have to be a bit careful about the sense of humour of another person as well, being aware of it, because some people do have a bit of a twisted sense of humour, and like, call me naive or simple or, you know, pure or whatever, but the fact is, when people are twisted, they will do things that are strange, that kind of don't align with how they are, if that makes sense. And I think that's kind of part of the function of society, so I'm not saying that should never happen, but in terms of a relationship, you have to be aware of that, I feel like, because don't listen necessarily, for me, it's not listening necessarily to what someone says, but what they do. You can listen to what they say, but observe their actions, you know, be aware of, you know, shady behaviour, like how they interact with you, how they interact with other girls. Are they trying to evoke jealousy in you? Do they crave attention 24/7? Like, sort of things like that. Just observe the behavior and try and understand a person through observation rather than what they're telling you, because, and I think this is a lesson that everyone learns at a different rate, to be honest, because I have been caught up in this. I'm not going to be like, oh, I've gone into, you know, situations with a complete well-rounded experience, because you can't build discernment, as I've gone into all of my healing videos and holistic stuff I was talking about in the past, about stuff like that. So yeah, you have to build discernment from things, but I feel like I've built that discernment, luckily, or I'm building it still. So yeah, I think moving forward, I feel like I would avoid the vast majority of people, if I'm honest. That's okay, because I've always been quite selective, but I feel like they've got to be, I don't mean to be like, I think to me, I'm going to have to see something. They say that, another nice analogy I heard actually though was, people are like particles that they talked about, you know, like particles like atoms. I'm not going to get scientific, but particles, like, either they vibrate at a low frequency or high, and then their only mission is to lose themselves in each other and become one other particle, and then they drift apart and become their separate particles again. I thought that was a really nice analogy for relationships, to be honest, of all kinds, to be honest, because you're not going to have like a long-term relationship with most people that you encounter in your life, or most people that you have to interact with in your life. But the fact is, in like relationships especially, it's nice, and I don't think this is why it's okay to lose yourself in a relationship at times. It's not a healthy thing to lose yourself in a relationship completely, definitely not. But I think it's almost like validation in some way that we want to do that, and I think it's okay to do it with the right person, but it's when you do it with the wrong person. I'm not ready to fully merge myself. I was even thinking about it, I was like, I'm nowhere near ready for like marriage, or, you know, God, I don't even know like what God's like got in store for me, but I don't think I'll be getting married for like a good while yet. I think I've got a few more people to go through before I start thinking about like, but it doesn't mean like they can't be getting better, do you know what I mean? Because I think you have to go through dating experiences to learn lessons that eventually get you into a long-term partnership. But I think learning about healthy partnerships in terms of romantic and friendships, to be fair, because people do evolve as well, and friendships wise as well. Like, I don't really want to go into friendships either at this point, because I'm talking about relationships. But yeah, I think I just want to be aware of how they are, aware of how I am, because I definitely think, due to my codependency, I wouldn't take away any of these relationships, and I think they happened when they happened, and I think these were great people that I went into relationships with, you know. But it's like, I think, had I not been, I mean, it's no use saying what if, but I know that my codependency had a factor in the fact I felt I had to be in a relationship, whereas now I don't have that. I'm comfortable by myself. I'm standing in my masculine energy, I'm standing in my feminine energy, and I don't need someone else to fill that for me, if that makes sense. I feel full anyway, if that makes sense. I mean, I'm talking here from God, but obviously full as a concept for life, and satisfied, if you like. I feel satisfied without that, which honestly has been a massive gift for me, to be honest, because I've actually, I think back, I've never felt that as an adult, you know. As a child, you kind of, it's a different ball game, because you're not really there as a person. You're still developing, and you don't always have like those urges to be in a relationship necessarily. You might have little ones, but it's not the same as being an adult, I don't think. But yeah, I think I'm going to just appreciate this gift that I've been given from God again. But let's not get all biblical. I just feel it's a gift at the end of the day, that I have been healed from this codependency. I'm going to live in that for a while, and I think just sort of sail through life a bit. Don't get me wrong, I'm sort of open to new people, but I would not jump into it head first, and I would also not deal with certain things that I've dealt with in the past. Like, for example, I think it's just about learning from discernment as well, and this is why I don't really want to go too far into like what I would discern from, because that's personal to me, and also no one's wrong in a relationship, but I do think it's universal to say if someone's wrong for you. Like, I think I would look at my availability for a relationship, my health for a relationship, their health, because I think you don't have to be ill to be unhealthy, if that makes sense, in certain aspects, and I think everyone's unhealthy in certain aspects, but I definitely think I've engaged in situations, and I think I'm not judging another person, because we all have our, God knows I've had my own struggles through those relationships, so I can't really like, you know, get on my high horse or anything. But I think you have to be aware of other people's like baggage as well, to be honest, because it will tell you a lot about them as a person. And I think there's a difference between having, and you know, everyone has baggage, of course. I think there's a difference between having baggage and still wanting them as a friend, or having baggage and you either wanting to fix them in there, or whether they have baggage and you kind of are caught up in that, which is also negative, if you ask me. I think it's okay to have, obviously everyone has baggage, even like when you're not married or whatever, the other person will have baggage of some form, but I imagine that will be manageable. But as I say, I haven't got to that stage yet where I'm like thinking fully about that sort of thing. I'm just that's sort of in the future for me at this point, so I'm not really too fussed about it. But I think learning through the stages about, as I said, what I would call a biblical relationship, but also like what will come with a healthy relationship, and the difference between a toxic relationship and a healthy relationship, because I think I had toxicity. Obviously everyone has toxicity throughout their lives. They tend to come in contact with it through work, friends, relationships, whatever comes up for you at times in life, and I definitely think, but I think you kind of it's easy to get caught up in it for one, and I've done a few videos on toxic relationships, but I think just reminding myself of what's toxic and what's not, and being aware of the early warning signs of a toxic relationship, because it's just not worth getting yourself that far into a toxic relationship. I think I had good walls up from it at one point, but then kind of just got sucked back in, because that's what kind of toxic situations do. They sort of just suck you back in, which it's just not a healthy place to be, and that's unbiblical in itself, to be fair. But yeah, I think it'll be more fun. I think I'm excited for when my next relationship is, regardless of when that is. I don't know if it'll be, you know, any time in the next few months, or I actually might, you know, and I think it would just be better when I am in that place. But yeah, I think there has to be also like a base level of attraction, I feel like, still, which has stayed the same. Attraction's like something so basic that even in any stage of, you know, once you can start feeling that sort of stuff, I mean, in adult relationships you would gravitate towards that as a marker, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that, because it's like obviously a natural human intuition standpoint. I think that's normal, but then like it's just weeding stuff down a bit. So I think, yeah, as I said, you can find someone attractive but them not be good for you as a person. I honestly don't know. My rafters are still quite open, and I don't think that's an issue. I obviously know like people that are much older, that have gone through more life experience, more partners, divorces, whatever, will have still have a very wide rafter range if they that's really weird, if they have even experienced that. So it's not, I think you can build discernment, but it's also like you can't whittle down exactly what you want or need at that point necessarily, because there are 5 billion people, whatever it is, 8 billion people, and there's probably loads more than that. I actually don't know how many people there are in the world. There's just so many people in the world. But I always think, it sounds weird, but I can almost, I don't know, sometimes you can just feel that you are ready for that sort of thing, or whether you need to be sort of single for a while longer. I don't like to describe myself as being single, because it just means that I think it's just me being me at this point, because I feel like I just want to, you know, be doing other things, namely friends. And I've started a few craft groups. I don't know if I mentioned it in my last video. I've started a craft group. I've got involved with a Christian group and also a poetry group, and I've gone to a few drinking groups, and it's just really nice to just mingle a bit, and I think it does free you up to an extent as well if you are not in that place, because I think even yesterday I was thinking about how sort of adapting to not being in a relationship, because I feel like as an adult I've literally been in a relationship for like all of my adult life, more or less, until I've been single for about a year and a half, since I was about 17 or 18, and I'm now 23. So I just think you just evolve and adapt in new ways. Now I'm where I am, I feel like you just adapt to a different, just a single way of being, in that you don't rely on that other person for any sort of, I don't know, I'm just being more independent, and I think, yeah, obviously codependency is good, but also relationships are a relationship. Everyone's in different places. Everyone's dealing with different things at different times. So you can't judge. I feel like so yeah. I think next person. I think it'll be fun to date as well when it eventually comes around. I feel like I can actually notice. I think as I go on dating apps, I feel like I keep repeating myself, but I think it's exciting to go on dates. It's exciting to get dressed up. If you feel that you've invested enough in that person, I feel like I don't know. I don't want to be controlling about. See what I mean? My head's a bit sort of like I'm sort of into it, but I don't want to be on my own. But I'm also a bit like I feel like I don't know. But I think it's just be fun eventually to like get into like dressed up and stuff and whatever. I don't know, I just feel like I'm in this place. I'm actually reminding myself of my cousin, weirdly enough. I feel like I don't know if she's in a relationship now, but she was talking to me about how she was sort of casually dating a few people, but she wasn't too bothered about anyone specifically. And just the way she was talking sounded like me. Now, which is where she's just sort of like a bit sort of all over the place, just not really sure what she wants, and just a bit like, I'm talking about my cousin here, but I'm probably in the same boat at this point. Just sort of like dating a few people, but not being too bothered. I honestly don't know if she's in a relationship now, I'm not sure, but anyway, yeah, but I think you grow in different areas depending on your circumstance, and I think I grew a lot in a lot of my relationships, to be honest, and evolved to that way of living, where I feel like I've never really done, I don't know, I just think there's different sides of my life that can be grown and expanded, having that free time that maybe in the past I would have spent travelling and spending at their house or spending with them, I can spend doing things that I honestly don't even know that are going to happen yet. Like, obviously I've started this craft. I've got an idea of like what I want to be doing, but I'm sure more things will come up, because you kind of attract what you're ready for and what you're even subconsciously looking for. Our minds and our manifestation systems, shall I say, are very wise, and I think like manifestation, I feel like is I get the concept and the law of attraction. I've done videos on them, and I definitely think it's something to keep in mind, but I feel like that sort of stuff is actually very we're very intuitive beings, and we'll kind of gravitate towards what we want, and also I believe God has a plan, so I feel like trusting in that as well. But yeah, Lord only knows where I'm gonna go next, you know. Don't know how. Yeah, I think it's just where life takes you, and that's a nice way to think, I feel like. And I think there's also something weirdly kind of attractive about being able to be on your own and feel good about yourself and your life, and kind of not be reliant, if that makes sense, and sort of not reliant, but I'm sure so many women are like this, you know, and I'm not blaming anyone that is. I'm not throwing shade on anywhere, but I do think it can be an attractive thing, even to myself, feeling this about myself. I'm attracted to myself, no. I feel like it can be an attractive situation where you kind of are comfortable enough in your own skin and in your own situation and your own mind to feel, not even in that, just comfortable in a situation and just evolving to being more comfortable being in that place of singleness, because like there is a comfort in a relationship, you know, and it's about building that for yourself and making new avenues, not making new avenues, like, you know, experiencing new avenues that come from not spending that time invested in someone else. Yeah, I think that's basically all I wanted to say, but this is in no way like an anti-dating campaign, an anti-relationship campaign, but it's just, and I'm going to pick a title which shows that, because I don't want it to be like that. I might just put like a question like, am I in a relationship, dating stuff, or something like that. I don't want it to be like, because I'm definitely not against it. I just think I'm building discernment, and I'm being more careful about who I give the benefit of the doubt to. In terms of myself, I definitely think everyone is attracted to different people. We all have our different strengths, and we all have our different you know, sense of humour, opinions, whatever. And I'm not invalidating that, we're all able to do that, but for myself, I definitely whittled down a few more ideas of what I will be looking to and what I will not be looking to, but I am grateful for experiences that I've gone through, and I definitely think everything you go through makes you the person you are, and it's just, it's a nice way to think. So yeah, I'm gonna go now, but thank you for listening. Yeah, thanks, bye.